Okay. Good morning. Erev Yom Tov, Shvi Shal Pesach, the climax of Pesach, the Shira. We are now up to Daf Lamed Chet Amud Aleph. 38a in the middle of the page. Yesterday we had a machloket. If a person forgot and he was transgressed, he violated shehiyah, he left it on the fire. So we had a machloket. We said that Rabbi Moshe said there's no difference whether it's b'shogeg or b'mezid. We had a machloket if that meant it's always a problem or it's always okay. Even if you did it b'mezid, it's okay, or even if you do it b'shogeg. So the Gemara brought a braita from Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda that seemed to say that if you have a tafshil that was not cooked all the way, then it's only a problem if you did it b'mezid and not b'shogeg. So the Gemara says that works out if you say, just remind you the end of yesterday. That works out if you say that that it's always asur. Why is it? Oh, but you see over here, it's not always asur in the Braita. So you could say the Braita is before the Gzeirah, which we're going to talk about in a second, what that Gzeirah was. But the Gzeirah was the impetus that caused the Chachamim to say that even when it's b'shogeg, it's a problem. But that Braita that was said before that Gzeirah, therefore differentiated between shogeg and mezid. But if you learn that, like Rabbi and Rav Yosef, that it's always mutar, why would that Braita say that b'mezid it's a problem? If it's before the Gzeirah, then why should mezid be a problem? I thought mezid is just like shogeg when you forget. And if it's after that Gzeirah, then even shogeg should be an issue. So the Gemara says you have a good point, it's a good kasha. But the Gemara now wants to know, my gzerta. What is the gzerta? It's the last word on the line, basically smack in the middle of the page. My gzerta. What is this gzerah? The Amar Rav Yehuda bar Shmuel Amar Rabbi Abba Amar Rav Kahana Amar Rav B'tchila hayu omrim hamivashel b'Shabbat b'shogeg yochal b'mezid lo yochal. At first, Rav says, they said that if someone cooks on Shabbat b'shogeg, he can eat what he cooked. But if he cooked, here we're talking about cooking, b'mezid lo yochal v'hu adin shocheach. And the brightest, and Rav said, and the halacha was originally the same halacha with shehiyah. Which means, if he did shehiyah b'shogeg mutar, shehiyah b'mezid, that was asur. But misherabu mashin b'mezid v'onim shchechim anu chazu v'katzu ha'shchech. Once too many people started forgetting, they didn't really forget, they did it on purpose, and they used this as an excuse. They said, because it was the Isur de Rabbanan, they said, we forgot. So that's why it's okay. So then they said, there's a knas even on someone who forgets. That was the Gzeirah, and they made that even shogeg will be an issue just like mezid. Okay? And that's what seems to be what the Gemara is coming out with, that once this Gzeirah happened, shogeg is the same issue as mezid. That's a problem. Okay. Now the Gemara has a kasha like this. Kasha de Rabbi Meir, kasha de Rabbi Yehuda, de Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara is not asking a new kasha. We just had a braita. I'm going to remind you what the braita said. It was at the end of yesterday. It's right here on the top. The Gemara says there that if someone forgot a kedeirah on a kirah, so if it was not nitbashel kol tzorko, so then that's b'shogeg, it's fine, b'mezid not fine. This is maybe before the gzeirah. And that's all by a tafsha that was not nitbashel kol tzorko. But if it was already fully cooked, Rabbi Meir says, no problem. Even if it's mitztamik v'yafaloi, once it happened, and you did it, it's okay, you can eat. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. Only if it's mitztamik v'raloi, it's going to get worse. But if it was mamash, it was mitztamik v'yafalo, even though it was entirely cooked, mitztamik v'yafalo means it's shriveling, but it's getting better. Mitztamik v'raloi means it's shriveling, but it's getting worse. So Rabbi Yehuda says, only if it's getting worse, but if it's getting better, even though it's fully cooked, you're not allowed to eat it until Motzei Shabbat. Okay? The problem is, if you remember, and we had a braita about 2 kirot, one next to the other. The problem is that there we also had Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda having an argument, if you remember, what the machloket Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel was. Remember, we said that the Mishnah is more like Rabbi Yehuda, but we're like a third way. So that braita, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't work with this one. Why? Rabbi Meir contradicts himself and Rabbi Yehuda contradicts himself. Why? Because Rabbi Meir over here says that once something is fully cooked, you're allowed to eat it if you left it on, right? Whether it's mitzamek v'ra or whether it's mitzamek v'yafeh. Okay? But there, Rabbi Meir said the only thing you're allowed to be leave on a fire before is only hot water, which is mitzamek v'raloi. He said only chamin, not tafshil, if you remember. Rabbi Meir was like, he made everybody really he was very strict. And here, Rabbi Yehuda says that if it's mitztamik v'yafaloi, it's a problem. But over there, he said, bein chamin, bein tafshil. What does bein chamin, bein tafshil means? Even if it's a cooked item, it's okay. Normal tafshil doesn't mean mitztamik v'raloi. Tafshil means a cooked dish that still has something to be gained from by sitting on the fire. That's the norm. So, I mean, you could say, oh, he meant tafshil v'raloi. That's not the norm. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Meir kasha. That doesn't bother me, says the Gemara. Which means, lichatchila, the first bright is saying you're not allowed to put on only chamin. But our bright over here is if you did. Now what's the halacha? So if you did, and it's already fully cooked, even if it's mitztamek v'yafaloi, I'm okay. Lichatchila, you're not allowed to. Only. But our bright is what happens if. The first bright was what should a man do? Lichatchila, and this b'di'evet. It's a whole different set of rules. What you were allowed to do and what you did, now that you did it, we're going to be more makel because it's done already and you're just being nana now from what you did. We're not telling you that you're allowed to do that. But Rabbi Yehuda nami lekasha kan begrufa ktuma kan bekiddush she'ena grufa ktuma. In the old brisa we were talking about putting it on a stove that was garuf and katum. Okay? But, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda said that you're allowed to put on even a tafshil, even something that's mitztamik v'yafel loy. Here, Rabbi Yehuda is being so strict and saying that if you forgot it, then you cannot enjoy it if it's mitztamik v'yafel loy until Motzei Shabbat. We're talking about a case where you forgot it on something that you were not allowed to do, and it was a kira that was not garuf and not katum. It wasn't covered or raked, and therefore he says that the item is asur even b'di avad, and not even b'di avad when it's mitztamik v'yafaloi. But in the earlier brisa, it was already garuf and katum. There, he allowed a tafshil that was mitztamik v'yafaloi. Okay. Iboilu. Now the Gemara wants to know, what about if a guy did a b'mezid? Ovar. He transgressed, he violated. Vishiha. Mai. What's the halacha? Mikansu Rabbanan or lo? So the Gemara says, Toshima. The Omar Shmuel Bar Natan Amra B'chinina Kishalach Rabbi Yosef L'Tzipori Matzu Chamen Shenishtau Al Gabi Kiro V'le'osel Lehem. When Rabbi Yossi went to Tzipori, he found hot water that was left on the kira that was not garuf, and that's mitztamik v'ra. It's worse because it loses the water. And therefore, he allowed it. Then he found beitzim mitzumakot shenishtal lagav kira v'asar lahem. And he said, oh, shriveled, really small eggs that got really small. That's asur, because eggs, as we're going to see soon, always get better and better and better the more they're cooked. Maybe today we don't view it like that, but the Gemara felt that it was better. We'll see a story in a second. So therefore, it's mitztamik v'yafeh, and he said it's asur. Okay. So my love, lo to Shabbat, lo the Shabbat haba. Wasn't it talking about that Shabbat that he's saying? Look, you did this isur. So it's asur. So you see over here that if you did it, it's asur. So the man says, no, the Shabbat haba, which means don't do this next week. And maybe this week it's okay. The reason why I'm waiting, I'm thinking is because it's not such a simple question, this whole question. We just had a machloket from Meir and Rabbi Yehuda about this. If a guy forgets it on Shabbat, what's the halacha? And we said, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you forgot it, and it's only okay if it's mitztamik v'raloi. Rabbi Meir said even mitztamik v'yafalo. And we always go like Rabbi Yehuda over Rabbi Meir. So what's the question over here in this Gemara? What's go like Rabbi Yehuda? So they bring down over here a Ritva that says that the Gemara's whole question here is a specific, very fine, at a very, very specific point this happened. What happened? Of course, you're not allowed. We go like Rabbi Yehuda. If you're over on Shehiyah, too bad. Only if it's mitztamik v'raloi, it's okay. But here, what happened was like this. It's really going to be mitztamik v'yafel here. Oh, so if it's mitztamik v'yafel, it should be a problem. Go like Rabbi Yehuda, it should be an issue. Problem is, what is mitztamik v'yafel? If you leave it on longer, now on Shabbat, it's going to be mitztamek, shrivel, and get better. But he took it off on Shabbat. Before it was mitztamik v'yafel. Let's say, all right, you're not allowed to leave it on Shabbat. It's not garuf v'katum, because if you leave it on for a good 15 minutes, or let's say a good hour, it's going to get better and better. In an hour from now, it's going to be a whole different thing. Okay, I take it off after 10 minutes. That's what the Ritva says this question is about. So it never got to the point where it was mitztamik v'yafeh. Shehiyah on Shabbat, nothing. Yeah, you weren't allowed to do it. Everybody agrees with that. And if you did, according to Rabbi Yehuda, and you waited for an hour to mitztamik v'yafeh, that is why you weren't allowed to do it, because after an hour it would get better. But I took it off before the hour. So it never really got yafeh. So that's the Gemara's question, can I enjoy it or not? And that's what the case was with the beitzim mitzumakos Okay? I guess the proof of the beitzim mitzu makot, over here, it was the same thing. That the beitzim, according to the Ritva, they never really shriveled more on Shabbat. You took them off pretty much right after Shabbat, the onset of Shabbat, after Shabbat began. But the question is, but Lemaisa, you left them on in a place that it could have gotten better and better and better. And therefore, the Gemara wants to know what halakha is. So the Gemara didn't bring a proof because we don't know what he meant. So the Gemara just now says, Michlal beitzim mitzu makom mitztamkot v'yafel leheninu. But what we do see here is that beitzim, that shrivel, are always considered better. Is that really true? Says the Gemara, and yes, the Amar Rav Chama bar Chanina pamachat nitarachti ani v'Rabbi lemakom echad. Rav Chama bar Chanina said, once I and Rabbi both were visitors, were guests. It was a regular weekday. They like these little wild apples that grow. They're tiny, and the eggs shrivel to that size. We ate many of them. Why did he say that we ate many of them? What's the point of that? Right? So the point is to teach you that they're very healthy. So we see that the more they shrivel, the better they get. Okay. So now the Gemara now goes back to the case of Chazara. Okay? Now we're going to get into all the halachot of Chazara. Chazara is a different problem. Chazara looks like you're cooking. Because suddenly a guy takes a pot, he took it off the fire, now he puts it onto the fire. So that's mechzik mevashel on Shabbos. That is an issue. So one of the ways that we learned the Mishnah was that the Mishnah's whole halacha of garuf v'katum, according to Chananya at least, is only for Chazara. For Shehiyah, once it's nitbashel halfway already, there's no problem. And it's only the Beit Hillel that said, right, lachzir, that you're allowed to put back, you're allowed to do Chazara on garuf v'katum, is describing the beginning of the Mishnah that's talking, that says that you have to have garuf v'katum. So Omer Av Sheshet, L'divrei Omer machzir nafilu b'Shabbat. According to those who say you're allowed to do Chazara on Shabbat, whose opinion is that in our Mishnah, Beit Hillel, once it's garuf v'katum. So it's afilu b'Shabbat, even in the Shabbat day and not at night. Now, why should it make a difference? If you're allowed to do it, you're allowed to do it. Why are you allowed to do it? Because you're not cooking. Why are you not cooking? Because it's cooked. So, and it's garuf v'katum. So it's reminding you not to stoke the coals. So what am I doing on Shabbat? Am I doing the Easter of Bishul? No. It's a cooked item. Let's just say right now, because as we're going to say, that it's hot. It's hot. The item is hot, and it's cooked. You're putting it back on the fire, and it's garuf v'katum. So why does he have to teach you this? That it's even during the daytime. Not only could you return it at night, but even during the day. What's the difference? Shabbat is Shabbat. So, what's the reason? Okay, so let me ask you a question. In order to understand this, are you allowed to take a boiling hot, cooked item, and it wasn't on a fire at the beginning of Shabbat? I didn't have it on a stovetop that was garuf v'katum. It's sitting on the counter. Why? Because I took it off the fire 20 seconds before Shabbat. Still bubbling. Boiling hot, cooked. Am I allowed to now go and put it on a stove top, a kirah that's garuf v'katum? On Shabbat. Is that chazara? That's not chazara. It's not, you never took it off on Shabbat. Exactly. Because it was not there on Shabbat. Chazara means it was on the fire, on the garuf v'katum on Shabbat. I took it off for a time and now I want to put it back. But if it was never on Shabbat, that's called netina lechatchila. Nestina lechatchila in Ashkenazi. So what? Netina lechatchila means the initial placing. Now, I know it's not your initial, you had it there the whole Friday. But on Shabbat, it's the first time. That's asur. There's no way out. Even if it's garuf v'katum with 20 layers. You have 20 blechs. Why? Because it's mechzik kimevashel. It's isur derabanan. Now, there's no isur deoraita, right? You're not cooking anything. You're not making a fire. You're not cooking. We're not talking about deoraita. But with derabanan, that's a problem. Everything that we spoke about in our Mishnah with Beit Hillel is chazara. Chazara means that it was there, and I'm returning it there. Okay. So why is chazara different than netina lechatchila? Why won't a person think I'm cooking? Because it's a continuation of my shehiyah. That's the way they view it. Just taking it off for a second, but it's really, it's a continuation of what I did initially. Okay? Meaning, I'm showing by putting it back that I really want it on here till tomorrow. And I'm not going to get involved with anything with the fire. So it's like a continuation of my shia. My shia was okay, so my chazara is a part of it. So you would think that if you put it back on during the day, now there's nothing telling over here that he wants to put it back on. Okay? So therefore, maybe it's like a brand new placing. Everybody knows that if you take off your pot of cholent on Friday night off the stove, you want to put it back on for tomorrow. So it's just like a break in the action for a minute. But it's really my shehiyah is continuing. But if you take off your cholent, your chamin, in the morning, nobody knows when you take it off that you want to put it back on. So maybe that break in the action is already like, since nobody could tell, nobody could see, even though you know that you want to put it back on for shalosh seudot. You want it back on. You like to eat your chamin on shalosh. It's very nice, but nobody could see that. Nobody will think that you want, right? They think it's over. So therefore, maybe placing it back on with the chazara is like a brand new placing. It's like cut off from the old shehiyah. And maybe that it will be asur. So that's why Rav Sheshet let us know. Don't worry about that. As long as you have in mind, we're going to see soon, there's a bunch of conditions, prerequisites, a whole bunch of them, that you need to do. You know, that's fine. That's what he said. And even Rabbi Moshe agrees. We were once standing before the great Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Moshe was his Talmud. And both of them make the Braitot. We know. Rabbi Moshe and Rabbi Chia, but Rabbi Moshe was his Talmud. And we learned yesterday Rabbi Moshe was the Rebbe of Rabbi Yochanan. So you have Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Moshe, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was like from the first Amaroi. This is the end of the Tanoim. We were standing before Rabbi Chia. And they brought us up a kumkus, like a kumkum. A kettle, shel chamin, midyuto atachtoina, from the bottom floor of the home, the dyuto elyoino, to the upper floor. Umazagnulo etakos. And we diluted his cup of wine, which needed, usually, they used to dilute the very strong wines in hot water. And we used it to dilute his wine in the hot water. And we returned it back to its place. He didn't say a thing. This was during the daytime. So you see that it's okay. Well, it doesn't really say that it was during the day. But they want to say that even if it was at night, it's the same issue as the day, because it wasn't clear that he was going to put it back on. And yet he let us when we did put it back on. So that night was like a cholent in the day. Okay. So the Gemara says, Omer Rab Zika, Omer Rabbi Abba, Omer Rab Tadai. Lo shonu elo she'oidem biyodei. Avli nichan al gabi karka asur. That's only if it was still in your hands. But if you placed it on the ground, it's asur. Why? Because now you're really cutting off the initial shehiyah. And now we view it as a brand new nitina lechatchila. It's like the first placing. It's not connected anymore to its old shehiyah. It's not like, oh, we really have the old shehiyah. We're just stopping for a second, holding it in my hands. Once you place it down on the ground, you like forgot about it. And therefore the first shehiyah is a problem, and according to this shita, even if your hand is still on it, once it's on the ground, you're done. Okay. Amar Rabbi Amir, Rabbi Tadai, the Ovid legarmin hu the Ovid. Rabbi Tadai that did this, it was only for himself. Okay, we don't rule like him. Elahachi Amar Rabbi Chia, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chia bar Abba said in the name Rabbi Yochanan, afilu hinicha al gabi karka mutar. Even if you place it on the floor, it's okay. Okay, but we're going to see soon that there's still a machloket. Pligi bar Abdimi bar Shmuel bar Yehuda v'Tavayim Mishmei Rabbi Elazar Amri. Chad Amar Odem biyada mutar agabe karka asur v'chad Amar yidicha agabe karka nami mutar. One says if it's still in your hand, it's okay, but if you put it on the ground, it's asur. And the other one says, okay, even if you put it on the ground. And Amar Chizkiya Mishmei de Abaya Hoda Amis Odem Yodem Matar Lo Amran Ella Shadait Lahachse. Avla Ein Dait Lahachse Asur. If you say that if it's in your hand, it's still mutar. Good.
If you see something pop up, just let me know, because they want to join in. We have to let them in.
Oh, someone on now?
If something pops up.
Okay. Fine. I'll be looking. Click to invite participants? That's fine. That's when they pop up, we do that. Yeah, very good. This that we said that when your hand is on it is okay, is only when you want to return it. But if you to yourself don't want to put it back, asur. Then even if it was in your hand, you already cut off the first shehiyah. Michlal, that infers that this opinion that holds that when you place it on the ground there's a problem, it's worse than in your hand. And even by hand we said you have to want. So then what's the worst by karka? By karka that means that even if you want, it's a problem. That's what the Gemara is saying. So the Gemara is saying, Ika de Amri Amar Chizki Mishmei de Abaya Ho de Amri Saga Bekarka also the Amrin Elo She'in Daita Lahachzer. But others say no. Even the ground is only a problem. The ground issue is a problem if you don't want to put it back. Aval Daita Lahachzer mutar, but if you want to put it back, it's mutar. Michlal, that would infer that the better case, which is when it's still in your hand, She Odan Biyado Afal Pi She'in Daito Lahachzir, even if you don't want to put it back, mutar, it's okay. Okay. Boy. Now the Gemara wants to ask a question. According to the Manda Amar, that it's a problem when you place it on the ground. What would be? If you hang it on a stick, you don't put it on the ground, but it's not in your hand anymore. Or now, it's not in my hand. But Ravashi has another question. Pinan mimechan limechan. Pinan mimechan limechan means I took it off the kira, the kumkum, the kettle, and now I pour it into another kettle. Okay, now, with the new kettle, am I able to return it to the kira? Or do you say, no, because it's a new vessel? And the new vessel cuts off the original shehiyah. That's the shayla. The reason why the halacha is pretty amazing in this parak is because usually most rishonim, well, maybe sometimes it's one that doesn't go, but almost all the time the rishonim are going to side with one way in the Gemara. And then there's going to be maybe a machloket in the rishonim how to understand that way in the Gemara. So there will be differences in halacha. But here, not only do you have different ways of understanding the Manda Amrim in the Gemara, but you have machloket all the time in the Achronim, in the Shitot of the Rishonim and Achronim, of who we rule like in every one of these questions. So there's a lot of different opinions in halacha in this parak. Mechaber, Ramah, like, first of all, do you go like Hananya or do you go like Chachamim? Okay, and even if you go like Chachamim, do you go like Rav and Shmuel with mitztamek v'yafaloi a problem, or do you go like Rabbi Yochanan and mitztamek v'yafaloi on that you need gar for katan? Fine, like the Chachamim, but is mitztamek v'yafaloi a problem or not? That's a whole machlokes amoraim, and there's a machlokes rishonim which amoraim we go like. Usually there's klolim, there's rules how we rule, and sometimes there's machlokes rishonim, but usually falls into more and less into the same bucket, and then in that bucket there's a machlokes exactly how to understand Rabbi Yochanan. So there can be a difference in halacha this way, that way. But here it's like, so I think it's very important that we make a shir one day. I don't know if it's the same shir as the Daf Yomi because we don't have time, but we go through a little bit of Reish and Gimel. We go through the halachot a little bit. Okay. An oven is different. An oven is different. Till now we're talking kira. Kira was a place, a stove top, that the fire came from these walls, but the walls were very straight. It was flat and straight, nice walls. On top there was 2 holes for potholes. Very nice. This is like a literal pothole. In the street, we call it a pothole. This is a pothole. So that's a kira, and everything we went through kira, we said, kash and givava, we didn't really talk about it, they didn't really make coals. There's very little left of them when they get burnt. So there's no problem of shema yechata that he might come to stoke it. So there's no, you don't have to be gara for katum. There's no halach of gara for katum. For kira, on kash and givava. Kira. Tanur is now the Mishnah introduces a new item. It's basically almost the exact same thing. 2 potholes on top, heat coming from the bottom, but the walls go like this. So they get to a very they narrow on the top. Therefore, it's much hotter. Therefore, the halachot change. How do they change? Oh, even kash and givava, you're not allowed to place on top or inside, unless, well, it seems like unless you do gerufa katum, because there are tiny little leftovers of kash and givava as well, and since you can reignite them and they can make a lot of heat in this type of structure, therefore we are worried in the Tana. Kupach, we're going to see soon, a kupach is like in between a Tana and a Kira. Okay? Shisiku bekashu v'givava. The kupach is the same thing as the Kira, it's just 1 paddle instead of 2. Okay? So it's more than a Kira, but less than a Tanner. The heat is more than a Kira, less than a Tanner. It's shaped exactly like a kira, but it only has one pothole. Hareze kikirayim. So kupach that was heated with kash and giva is like a kira. And by a kira we said kash and giva don't need any what? Any garuf katum. So in regards to kash and giva, which is straw and stubble, whatever from the ground, that's no issue. But gefet veitzim areu ketanor. We do get. It says that it has two different tracks. If it's kash and giva, it takes the kira track, the kupach. But if it's begefet veitzim, then we're machmir on it like a tanner. Okay? So a tanner we're machmir, does even by kash and giva, a kira not, and a kupach depends. Kash and giva not, but gefet veitzim, yes. So the Gemara says, tanner shisiku, stav Rav Yosef l'meimer, tocho mamash, agabav mamash. When it says over here, lo yutein, right? Ben mitocho ben me'agabav. It means mitocho and gabav. Aval ismoch shapir dami. If you want to put it next to it, no problem. Okay? Smicha is not an issue. Aha. We came out before that you're allowed to be somech next to a kira. Okay? So Rav Yosef is saying the same halacha applies to a tanner. Even though there's stricter laws when it comes to the actual placing on top or inside. But for the halachas of smicha, it's exactly like a kira, and there's no issue. You could place a pot outside. Eitzve Abaye, his Talmud Abaye came and asked Rav Yosef a kasha from a Braita. It says, actually from the Mishnah, it says, Kupach sheisiku b'kasha v'givareu kekirayim. A kupach, when it's kash and giva, goes like a kira. It's okay. You're allowed to do shehiyah. Gef v'gef v'veitzim, areu ketanur. And it's asur. Okay? Ha kekira shari. But had the kupach been like a kira, then it would be okay to do shehiyah even when it's gefet and eitzim. Okay? B'mayaskin, what are we speaking about? He says, Ilema al gabav. If you mean that it's talking about when you place it on the kupach, right? And then the inference would be like this. If it's gefet eitzim, you can't place it on the kupach like a tanur. Okay? But like a kira, it would be okay. So, what case would it be talking about? You're not allowed to place it on the kupach because it's like a tanur when it's garufa katum or not. If it's not, has nothing garufa katum, then why do you have to make the kupach like a tanur to prohibit it? Even if it would be like a kira, it would be prohibited. Even a kira, you can't do shihiyah unless it's garufa katum. El a kira, ke'ena garufa katum al gabav mishari. You're not allowed to do such a thing. Okay? I guess he's going like the Chachamim. El alav lismoch. So it must be the whole halacha over here is talking about smicha. Uketani hareu ketanur ve'asur. That's it. And it says like a tanur and it's asur. So you see that a tanur has an isser of smicha. Basically, Abai is trying to prove that this case of putting it on a kupach like a tanur is a case where it is garuf, it is not garuf katum. It's not garuf katum, and if it's not garuf katum, what's so great about a tanner? Must be it's talking about the case. What's great about it is the smicha. Smicha is a problem. So Amar Ravad Barahava, no, hacha bekupach garuf katum, the tanner garuf katum askina. Hamisha is talking about yes garuf katum. So the Gemara says, and what the Mishnah means is like this: the kupach arehu kitanur, the avagav, the garuv katum al gabav asur, the kekir kegruv katum shapidami. So he's saying like this, it is Garuf Katum. And the Mishnah is saying that even if it's Garuf Katum, its heat is more than Kash and Givava. So therefore you're not allowed to do Shehiyah on a Kupach that's heated up with Gefet Ve'etzim even after Garuf Katum. Like a Tanner. Okay? Now what would be the halacha with Smicha? Smicha, the Mishnah is not speaking about Smicha. Smicha might be okay. The Mishnah was speaking about Shehiyah on Garuf Katum and telling you that if it's Begefet of Eitzim on a Kupach, the Kupach is exactly like a Tanur and it will be a problem. Tanya Kavateta Abaye. Gemara brings a proof to Abaye that it's Asur to be Somech even next to the oven. With the pot, because it says Tanushi Siku Bekasha V'Givava Ein Somchin Lo Ve'ein Tzarich Lomar Al Gabav Ve'ein Tzarich Lomar L'Tocho. It says a Tanur, you're not allowed to be Somech. It's explicit in the Braita. Ve'ein Tzarich Lomar Begefet V'Eitzim Kupach Sheisiku Bekasha V'Givav V'Notnin Lo Agabav. But Begefet V'Eitzim Ein Somchin Lo, like a Tanur. So basically this Braita says exactly like a Abaye. A Kupach Begefet V'Eitzim is like a Tanur, even Bekasha V'Givav, that there's no allowance of Smicha, even Smicha. Nothing to do it. What is this nature of this kupach? If its heat is equal to the kira, then afilu begefet ve'etzim nami. Then why can I put a tafshil when it's garuf and katum, like a kira? If its heat is as hot as a tanur, so then bekash begiva nami lo. So even kash and giva, it should be astur. We should worry about, you might stoke up the remainders of these tiny little things because it can affect it, because it can get really hot in there. It's hotter than a kira, it's less than a tanner. That's what it is, it's an in-between thing. Like I told you before. Echidami kupach, echidami kira. The Gemara wants to know another difference. The Gemara wants to know, okay, why is it like that it has more heat than a kira and less than a tanner? And the Gemara says because the way it's built is for one pothole. So therefore, it's hotter. But it's not as hot because as the tanner, because it's built straight and not slanty. We learned in a Mishnah in Kalim, in regards to Tumah and Tahara, if you have a kira that was split into two, le'orka tahora, to its length. Imagine that a table, folding table, has two potholes. That's the kira. If it gets cracked across the length, it's tahora. You know why? Because both round the potholes have been sliced, cut through, and broken. So I can't even put any pot on it. So it's lost its value as a keli, and it's tahor. Lirachba. But if it goes across the middle of the table, so the two potholes are intact. So even though it got cracked in the middle, it's still usable, and therefore it's tmeya. Kupach, however, says the Mishnah, bein l'orko, bein l'rachbo, tahor. You know why? Because since it only has the one pothole, so anywhere you go, you're going through the middle of the pothole and the item. So you see there that that's the way it's built differently from a Mishnah and Kelim. Says the Heilige Mishnah, the Mishnah Torah. Oh, pure Obrach. אין נותנים ביצה בצד המך בשביל שתתגלגל ולא יפקיענה בסודרים. You're not allowed to place an egg on the side of a kettle where it will roast. Now you say, 1 second, that's called smicha, putting it next to it. I thought we said it's okay. What?
Inside?
No, this is betzad hamecham, next to the kettle. The answer is, this is raw. This is real cooking issues. We're out of shehiyah for a minute. We're not talking about something that's cooked, and the problem is isur derabanan, that you're going to come to stoke a fire. No. We're talking about cooking an egg, a raw egg. Are you allowed to place it next to a kettle so that it will roll? Roll literally is the point where it gets cooked, because it rolls nicely once it's a boiled egg, right? Okay. Now you're thinking to yourself, I'm sure, not allowed to. Of course you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. I had my egg, it was raw. I put it in a place that's next to a heat source, and that place is so hot that it's going to actually, yad soled, it's going to make my hand recoil. That's the level of heat that can cook. It's going to change my egg from a raw egg into a great cooked egg. You're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. Why does the Mishnah have to say that you're not allowed to cook on Shabbat? So the answer is, it's not so simple at all. You're only not allowed to cook on Shabbat in an artisan way, masechet machshevet, which is through fire. But right now we're going to see soon that cooking through the sun, if you put an egg outside in the sun, very heat desert sun, and it cooks it, it's not an issue. Because that's not the way you cook. That's not the Torah's issur. Yeah, but it's cooked. Yeah. So if you do melachot, if you carry, in a weird way, it's not the way you carry things. It's also in the Torah, it's not a problem. Because it's not done, specifically in Shabbat, you need melechet machshevet. The normal way of cooking things is through fire. So is this fire? Well, it's near a fire, source of fire. So the Mishnah says it's a problem. Okay? Now, you're also not allowed to break it, to crack an egg, on a boiling hot handkerchief or towel that's been sitting out in the sun and is so hot that it can fry your egg. Okay? It can roast your egg. You're not allowed to do that. Rabbi Yossi Matir. Rabbi Yossi says that's okay. Why? The Tanna Kama says anything that is a tolda of the chama, a derivative of the sun, is a problem. Rabbi Yossi says derivative of the sun, this that got cooked heated from the sun, is not a problem. So you can cook on Shabbat, according to Rabbi Yossi, if you use the tolda of a chama. Okay? Now the Mishnah says, and also, Rabbi Yossi over here admits that you're not allowed to place an egg inside sand or the dust of, even though that's getting heated up from the sun. Now, why is that different than cracking an egg on a handkerchief? That's okay, because it's only a derivative that was heated by something that was heated from the sun. It's not the sun itself. Here it's also only from the sun. We'll see in the Gemara. There's a story with the people of Tveria, and they took this pipe that had cold running water through it, and they put it through the channel of the boiling hot Chamei Tveria. The springs of Tveria, which were very hot. So they had this pipe running through it before Shabbat, so that through Shabbat they'll run through, and they'll get heated up from the hot waters. Amr lahem chachamim, im b'Shabbat, if the cold water enters through that on Shabbat and gets heated up, it's kechamin shehuchmu b'Shabbat. It's like you heat water on Shabbat. Durin b'chitza u'v'shtiyah, you're not allowed to wash yourself or drink from that. No benefit. V'im b'yom tov, if it's yom tov, kechamin shehuchmu b'yom tov. It's like you heat it on yom tov. You're not allowed to heat up water. We'll see later. on Yom Tov to wash yourself, but you're allowed to drink from them. Okay? So the Gemara asks, the Gemara goes into this Gemara. Let's get into this Mishnah a little bit. The Gemara asks a question. Gilgal Mai. What happens if you did put the egg next to the kettle and it did get to the point that you can roll it a little bit, it's a little bit roasted? So what's the halacha? How badly, what type of istur did you do? It said in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to do it. Is that an istur derabanan or is that an istur deraita of cooking? So it says, Amar Rav Yosef Gilgal chayav chatat. It's deraita. Amar Ma'ad Breid Ravina Afanana Mitanina. We also learned in a Mishnah later on, Kol Shabbat b'chamim milufnei Shabbat, Shorin oto b'chamim b'Shabbat. Anything that was cooked in hot before Shabbat, you're allowed to put it back and let it sit in chamin on Shabbat, and you're not going to be over on the Easter of mivashel. Because there's a rule, says that Mishnah, Ein bishul achar bishul. Once something is cooked, it cannot be recooked. Okay? So you can put it back into something very hot on Shabbat. V'chol shelo b'chamim milufnei Shabbat, medichin oto b'chamim b'Shabbat. Okay? But anything that did not enter chamin on Shabbat, you're allowed to rinse hot water over it in hot water. Foods, but you're not allowed to let them sit inside. Okay? Because pouring hot water over it won't really cook it. But letting it sit inside is a problem. You're going to end up cooking it in hot water. That's called bishul. That Mishnah is talking about when bishul happens. Besides old salted fish, more than a year old, or some sort of Spanish tuna that was also salted, those, even if you pour hot water, since they're so ready to be done, rinsing them in hot is already the end. Oh, so what do we see? Shmamina, that we see from here that it's called Gemar Melachtan. So you see that's considered bishul in the Torah. So therefore we can same thing by the egg. The egg, even a little bit of it, makes it ready. That's already enough of bishul in Torah. Okay, so now the Mishnah goes back to the case of cracking an egg on your hot handkerchief. How is your handkerchief so hot? From the sun. And Rabbi Yossi said it's not a problem. Because Rabbi Yossi says the only problem is for fire. Or derivatives, things that were heated from a fire. Okay? But sudar is heated from the sun. It's todat hachama velo todat ha'ur. Okay? So the Gemara says, v'had etinan, this that we learned in the Mishnah later on, notnin tavshil toch habor b'shil she'ei shamur. You want to keep a hot thing, you don't want it to get spoiled. So you don't have refrigeration, so they put it into a pit. You could do that. V'etamayim hayafim bara'im. With good waters, and put it into a dirty mikveh of cold freezing water, so that it stays cold. B'shil she'itzanenu. Ve'etatzonen. Yeah, now why would I think that should be an isur? We'll see soon. Ve'etatzonen b'chama b'shil she'ichamu. I could take cold water and put them in the sun so that they get heated up. So the Gemara says, so you're allowed to cook things in the sun. Let's say that's like Rabbi Yossi and not Rabbanan. Because Rabbi Yossi and our Mishnah had no issue with the suns. No. That Mishnah is everybody. Even the Chachamim here that have a problem with the sun's handkerchiefs, that's not the sun itself, that's the handkerchief. The sun itself, everybody holds no problem. You put an egg in the sun, no problem. Bitodot ta'ur, and now something that was heated from a fire, even if it's not the fire itself, also everybody holds problem. Kule ama lo pligi dasir. Ki pligi. So where's the big issue? It's something, fire and things that were heated from the fire, problem. Sun, no problem. There's only that little niche that's left. Things that were heated from the sun, todot chama. Marsa v'gazina, todot chama atu todot ta'ur. Marsa v'ad lo gazina. Rabbi Yossi says we don't make an isser because the whole problem is that if you do todot chama, it's not really an isser d'oraita. But the Chacham are worried that then you're going to do, you're going to say, oh, todot chama is mutar, so then the todav ur is also mutar. And that's an isser d'oraita, todot ur. Rabbi Yossi says no one's going to mix it up so much. And that's why todot chama is okay. But it's interesting. The next halach in the Mishnah says that it sounds like Rabbi Yossi doesn't argue, and he says in the sand or in the earth, that's an issue. Now what's that? Sand and earth. How are they so hot? They're hot from the sun. That's told the Tachama. So why doesn't Rabbi Yossi argue with this? Rabbi says because we're worried that he might, if you let him insulate it in that, then he'll insulate it in ashes from a fire that have, some coals left. And that's a real Isser of Bishul. So therefore we got him out of the whole insulating in any type of like earth stuff. Okay? Rav Yosef Amar Mepnei Shemiziz Afar Mimkomo. There's different pshatim in what he means, but we'll go with the pshat that it's chorish. If I put it into the ground, I might not have enough loose earth. If I don't have enough loose earth, then I might have to dig into the ground, and that will be chorish, that will be plowing. Therefore, they said not to do it. My beinayu, what's the difference between these two reasons? Ik beinayu afa tichoch. If you have a ground that's very, very soft, there's no issa charisha in that, because it's already like kind of plowed out. Therefore, if the problem is in the chol, that you might do it in remetz, so you have to be in remetz, so it doesn't matter what type of ground they have here. If I do that, one day I'll do it in ashes. Charisha, so it depends what type of ground you have. Ground that's very soft is not charisha, there's no problem. Meitvei, the Gemara asked the kasha on Rav Yosef that said that the reason is because the maize is off from the following Braita. You're allowed to roast a beitza a little bit on top of a roof, which is boiling hot from the sun, because that's straight from the sun. But you can't do it on top of plaster that's boiling, that the plaster was heated from fire, because that's todat ha'ur. I understand. There's no gzera. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel should have said that it's a problem on the roof. You know why? Because if you roast the egg on the roof, you might move some, if you don't have enough loose earth, you might move some earth on the roof. So the Gemara says, Stam gag let be afar. Normal roofs don't have earth. And therefore, we're not worried about moving earth on a roof. Tashima, let's bring a proof. The Mishnah brought a proof from the actions of the people in Tveria. So they said that since they got heated up on Shabbat, this cold water in these pipes that went through the Chamei Tveria, the Chacham said, whatever you're not allowed to do with heated water, when you heat up water on Shabbat, you can't do it with this water. Drinking or washing. Yom Tov, you can't wash, you could drink. Now, it sounded like Rabbi Yossi didn't argue with this psak. Okay? So Bishlam Alamanda Omer Gzeir Shemiyatim Beremetz Hainu de Damilat Mono. Then I can understand why Rabbi Yossi would have an issue with this. Rabbi Yossi doesn't have an issue with they're not told how are they heated up? The Chamei Tveria. They're not the ur, no fire underneath them. It's natural heat, like sun, whatever it is. So Rabbi Yossi is being modeh. Why is he being modeh over here? Oh, there was one case where Rabbi Yossi was modeh in the earth because of Gzeira. So is this now over here? It looks like he's agreeing also. They brought a story, and Rabbi Yossi didn't argue with the story. So is this similar to the earth issues? So if you learn the problem with Shema Yem Yatim Beremetz, yeah, this is very similar to that because you're being matmin the pipe, you're insulating it in the hot waters. If you do that, one day you'll do it in ashes. That's why Rabbi Yossi didn't have anything to say about this story. He agreed. It's just like placing it in the ground, which is an issue for Rabbi Yossi. El Lamanda Omar. But according to the Manda Omar, that you're going to come to be mazes ofim im koimoi. That should be in the ground only. What does it have to do with this pipe going through this water? So mi savris ma'aser Torah seifekoi. So the Gemara says, who says that this story was coming to prove the point of the ground, of the seifa, of the being cooking an egg in the earth? It's going back on the Reisha. When it says lo yafkene b'sudarin, don't crack an egg on handkerchiefs. Rabbi Yossi argues. V'hochi ka'amri lei. Rabbanan Rabbi Yossi. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbanan are telling Rabbi Yossi as follows: Hom ma'aseh d'anshei Tveria, shetold chamahu v'asu Rabbanan. The Chamei Tveria are cooking with Toldat HaChama. Okay? And it's still a problem. So Amaluhu. So Rabbi Yossi said, no, Ha'u Toldat Urhu. The Chofa Pitra Dehenim. And Rabbi Yossi said that's not an issue at all. You know why? Because the reason why it gets heated up is because it passes by the entrance of Gehenna, which are fires. Now, it's a heavenly fire, but it's a fire. Omer Rav Chisda. Info. Went off. You got it? Okay. Omer Rav Chisda. Mimaisa she'asu anshe Tveria ve'asu l'Rabbanon. From the fact that this story of Anshe Tveria, they try to do this, and the Rabbanon over there said you can't, we now know that you're not allowed to be matmin, to insulate in something that adds heat. Even Erev Shabbat, because they told them anything that enters, you're not allowed to put this, they put the thing there before Shabbat. They didn't do it on Shabbat. Okay? So since it's going to heat it up and add more heat on Shabbat, it's a problem. So from here we see that being matmin, insulating something even before Shabbat and something that's going to add increased heat, is an isser. Omar ula halacha k'anshei Tveria. The halacha is like the people of Tveria. Wow. Now, how can he go like the people of Tveria? The Chachamim told the people of Tveria that it's asur, and nobody argued. The answer is that we just finished saying that Rabbi Yossi argued, and he said it's Pischa Shel Gehenim. That means that he didn't like the raya. Rabbi Yossi never liked the proof. A minute ago we said that Rabbi Yossi liked the proof. Why did we say Rabbi Yossi liked the proof, Anon? Because he said, okay, that's not a good proof for you because that's Gehenna. That's real fire. But Ula says no. Rabbi Yossi didn't even bother answering it because Rabbi Yossi felt like that it is Toldot Chama, and it's not a problem. You're right, it's Toldot Chama, it's not about Gehenna. Now the people of Tveria did like Rabbi Yossi. And the Chachomim say you're not allowed to because the Chachomim go like themselves. But Rabbi Yossi has no problem. And Ula's saying, Aloha Kanshei Tveria, meaning Aloha is like Rabbi Yossi. That's how they explain it. The people of Tveria, they themselves broke their pipes. They listened to the Chacham, so that's over. Okay? So now the Gemara gets into the sugya of, it's kind of late for me. I think we're going to stop here. I got into the right blot. It's just a short one, I'll leave you.
You want to mention what we're going to continue?
Yeah. So tomorrow's blot is Daf Mem. Okay, so finish up Lamed test today. Learn Daf Mem tomorrow. Learn Daf Mem Aleph the next day, because I can't give a shir on Motzei Pesach. And we're going to start the day after Pesach in the morning at 7:30, Bezat Hashem, on Daf Mem Bet. Chag Sameach.